Welcome back. You're still watching The Globe. Now, United States President Donald Trump will begin his July 4th Independence Day celebrations with a trip to Mount Rushmore. This despite concerns about gathering a large crowd during the coronavirus pandemic. Trump will view a fireworks display with thousands of people at the South Dakota landmark. This site has not had fireworks since 2009 because of environmental concerns. Well, President Trump advocated for a resumption of the display despite the threat of fire in the ecologically sensitive area. The US president has also come in for strong criticism for his refusal to wear a mask at his election rallies, where many people are also seen ignoring social distancing rules. Now, one of the countries whose history is closely tied to America is Liberia. The United States played a key role in the country's founding. The state that has now become Liberia originated in 1822 when the American Colonization Society founded a settlement for freedmen and recaptured slaves. So just how do Liberians view America's Independence Day and some of the recent developments in the country? Well, to take us through this, I'm now joined by the president of the University of Liberia, Dr. Julius Nelson. Thanks so much indeed for joining us and welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter. It is good to be with you tonight for this sharing and reflection.
All right, so I've just talked a little bit about the history between Liberia and the United States. And when you compare the two flags, it's quite clear that there's a long history between the two countries.
Very long history, and a historical one, when the American Colonization Society was finding a place to resettle free slave. Providence Island in Monrovia became the place for that settlement to take place. And there are several other cities in Liberia that were established based on those who came at the time. And since that time, there have been a wonderful relationship between Liberia and the United States of America.
What has really guided that relationship between the two countries? I mean, before the American Colonization Society, there was an era of slavery, though, wasn't there?
Yeah, slavery all over the continent and all over the world. By the end of slavery, the free slaves who were there and the discussion as to whether they should find at home or remain in the United States led the process for finding a land of freedom, a land of liberty, where they could call their own home. And that brought the settlement to Liberia. And because it was the United States they were coming from, all they remember, all they knew during their slave journey, resemble what they saw then in the United States. And so coming to Liberia between 1822 and 1846, there was a Commonwealth period where the American Colonization Society had governors that led a particular area for some time until they made a decision to declare an independent state in 1847.
All right, so what's been the relationship since? I know that there are a lot of generations of Liberians who perhaps can trace their ancestry back to Liberia anyway, but also after two civil wars, a lot of Liberians went across the United States.
Yeah, the relationship has been well over the period of time with different governments. The war situation created all kinds of unpleasant situations, but those Liberians who were in the United States and friends of Liberia, there's some situation where it was possible to carry Liberians to the United States for resettlement because of the war going on. And families or the Liberians who were in the United States found different ways and means to support those that were in refugee camps or displaced center during the war period. But thank God the United States or ECOWAS, the African Union, intervened, and we found a new dispensation to recapture our country and move ahead with development during this particular period now.
All right. So with the killing of George Floyd recently, we've seen it touched African Americans in the United States very much, and also globally, including many Africans on the continent. How has Liberia taken to it, given the relationship that it has with the United States?
It's been very, very unpleasant. We should all learn the lesson from the late George Floyd situation and other situations in the United States, that human life is precious and that no one should be killed in such a manner. It was discussed several times on different radio stations, and I believe that the issue of racism, inequality, ethnicity all over the world, especially so when you come to racism in the United States, should provide a framework where there should be a whole new dispensation to increase community policing so that the community leaders, citizens, and residents will engage the police into how they will work with each other in the various cities across the United States. But the world should be learning now that the way we engage our extreme force don't usually solve our problems all over the world. It is always good for tolerance. It is always good for negotiation. And when we get to the extra extreme, we create more problems for all of us in the world. Let me, from Liberia, express our sympathy to the late George Floyd family and all our family members who are dealing with situation like what happened in Minnesota, Minneapolis during the George Floyd situation.
Were there marches in Monrovia and parts of Liberia?
One or two, but most discussion on the social media and also in our different talk shows in Monrovia.
All right. So there's, again, a large community of Liberians in America. Some say more than 100,000. And over the years, many have gone over to study, including Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, the first African female president in Africa. And I just wonder, they must be writing home. What do they say about how they're treated and how they feel being in America?
You have different experiences. I myself went to school in the United States for graduate and postgraduate degrees. In situations where you are encouraged to work, those who are working very well enjoy that situation and are able to send funds to their relatives back home that keep life going for them on this side. But you also have those who find themselves having to do three jobs with difficult situations in various communities that sometimes don't be favorable for them. And so you find Liberians congregated in several states that are open to them finding work and going to school. And so the situation will be different from city to city. Depending on where you are and the situation there, you have a different experience.
So what was your experience as a black man in America?
I had a privilege in 1984 to go to Atlanta, Georgia for seminary, and I spent 4 years in Georgia from 84 to 88. It was a pleasant situation for me because I had a scholarship by the seminary, and I spent those 4 years working along clergy colleagues who were in seminary and working in some churches in the Atlanta area that helped my situation to be very, very well. Later on, I went back to school in 2002 to 2004. I stayed in Detroit, Michigan, and pastored a church there, and in Toledo, Ohio, for 1 year while I was going to school in Dayton, Ohio. Those experiences were pleasant. I was able to minister to people in the Detroit and Toledo area, and those experiences went very well for me. That enabled me to come back to Liberia to contribute to the development of Liberia.
All right, so tomorrow is July the 4th. How do you think Liberians will be experiencing it over there, especially given, I believe, that Donald Trump has created a pathway for more than 4,000 Liberians to take up citizenship and become Americans? Will they be celebrating it in the same way, Independence Day tomorrow?
Usually during the American independence, there's a major program by the American embassy, but because of the COVID-19 situation, that celebration will not be held tomorrow because of what we are experiencing now. But for those of us in Liberia and for our brothers and sisters in the United States, that is great news for this opportunity for citizenship. We want to thank God Almighty for all of them and the American government for creating this option for our brothers and sisters in the United States who will be on the path to citizenship. And I know in various Liberian community in the U.S. tomorrow, with all the social distancing, they will celebrate the fact of this possibility for citizenship as they continue to live in the United States. And we in Liberia, who are relatives and citizens of Liberia, will celebrate with them for this opportunity given to them by the people of America and the government of the United States for giving our citizens, our brothers and sisters, a new path to citizenship as they continue their stay in the United States. And let me use this time also to congratulate the people and government of the United States for their anniversary for 244 years contributing to international development and for the society we all find ourselves in this global village. America continues to play that role as one of the countries that help all of us around the world, but especially to Liberia because of our historical relationship with the United States, like a mother and child situation.
All right. President Nelson, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very, very much indeed for your time and sharing your thoughts with us and sharing these reflections with us this evening.
Thank you very much, Peter. It was good talking with you, and I'm happy to be on your program this evening.
Thank you so much, sir.